Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Invasion of the Dinosaurs, the second Doctor Who story from Season 11. Okay, let's get this right out of the way. This is the one with the pretty poor practical effects of the dinosaurs. Yeah, even for 1974, these were pretty shit effects. I mean, I'll give them this, they at least tried. But it just can't pull it off. I mean, the pterodactyl probably looks the best, but it does look like it's on strings. The models, if it was stop motion or a puppet show, it probably work better, but not quite in live action. I will say this, they did look pretty good merged with the live action stuff when characters had to go underneath very big dinosaurs, like in part 6 when the Doctor drives underneath a Brontosaurus, I think. One of these ones on the where my finger is pointing to. But other times they don't quite merge very well, and they look like toys, basically. They don't even look like the dinosaur from Doctor and the Silurians. Don't worry, we'll get better dinosaurs later down the line, even before the CG. I expect we'll have better era. I'll expect we'll get better dinosaurs. Certainly, they look more convincing in Series 6 and Series 7 of the new series than they do here. And Dinosaurs on a Spaceship is a bit more of a dinosaur-centered story than this is. Yeah, another thing about this story, it's got about 3 or 4 different plots all playing at once. First of all, you've got the dinosaur invasion. Second of all, part 1 sees the Doctor and Sarah, the police think they're looters, so they're mistaken for looters. Part 2 onwards introduces the idea that someone is creating these time problems and has been bringing dinosaurs to the future by not by accident, it's actually purpose to scare everybody off, so that they can then do their experiments and take everybody back to the golden age, which is basically that of the dinosaur times, or at least pre-civilized times. And finally, you've got the trying to discredit the Doctor and trying to hunt him down, and also the story about people on the being hidden away, pretending that they are on a ship. Not the people themselves, but the baddies are making them believe they're on a spaceship, and traitor inside unit, Mike Yates. They make Mike Yates a traitor for some reason. The reason is presumably the fact that his mind's been a bit screwed up, messed up after the events of the Green Death, and he's probably started believing that the same things as some of the other baddies, that this is all, that going back to a golden age is better, that's the right way to go. Jack McCulloch thinks he's been brainwashed for some reason. That's what he believes. Shout out to him. This is also his least favourite John Pertwee story, by the way. He believes Mike was brainwashed in this story. I have to say, Jack, that's not the case. It's actually worse than that, because Mike's doing it at his own will, which is worse than being brainwashed. So, actually, maybe you should continue thinking that he's brainwashed, because that's actually better than what we actually do have. So, yeah. And it doesn't work for Mike's character. I mean, having a traitor inside unit would work in the story, and maybe someone the Doctor knows, maybe someone you've met once or twice before, but hasn't gotten that close to the Doctor. But Mike Yates has been in every unit story since Terror of the Autons, apart from the 3 Doctors. He's been in all of Season 8, apart from Connie in Space. He had some great stuff to do in the Daemons, by the way. I loved how he and Benton got to wear civilian clothes and go down after the Doctor and Joe to help out. I also loved the fact that the Brigadier wore some civilian clothes in Green Death as well, by the way. And then he was in Day of the Daleks and Time Monster. Didn't do as much in that one, but he did get a bit to do. And then Green Death, he was Unit's man on the inside with the electrical global chemicals, not electricals. I'm thinking of international electronics from the invasion. But now, all of a sudden, he's turned traitor, because the events of the Green Death messed him up. And he obviously saw the problems that were going on, and he teamed up with this other general who, for some reason, is involved. Yeah, this guy doesn't get the reason why. He just does. The other villains I could possibly see. I mean, Whittaker wants this time travel experiment stuff. The politician wants the new golden age. The other guy obviously just wants to rule the world, probably. I'm not actually sure about some of the mazes. I can get the MP. I think I get Whittaker. Not so sure about Whittaker's seconding other colleague, the other scientist. I'm not sure what his motive is. I could probably get Mike Gates, even though it fucks up the character. I have absolutely no idea what the general's motive is. So that's him and the other scientist. I haven't a clue what the motive is. Heck, when I was even watching the spaceship stuff, I thought some of them may be involved. And no, they generally believe that they are in space and they're going to a new world, which they would have been if the plan succeeded. It just wouldn't be a new world, it'd be a different Earth. Haven't we had the story of people being trapped underground, being told that they're going to go to they'll come to a new world when they emerge? Right. The enemy of the world, a far superior story. It's the same thing, just change it to the fact that they think they're flying in space to a new planet, when in actual fact they're underground, underneath London, and they're just going to come to a golden age wasteland London as opposed to what it used to be. As if they couldn't have any more plot. This story has too many ideas. It's all playing at once. You know, it's called Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Focus on the fucking dinosaurs. And that wasn't bad enough. Part 1, I mean, Jack's for one thing, positive Jack said was that part 1, he likes that stuff, most of it anyway. Probably one of the very few things he liked out of the story. But part 1 for me, I don't know, apart from the building up the mystery, it doesn't really work. I don't care about the bloody looters. I think Dad's Army did the martial law story better in less than half one of their episodes. And Captain Manuel said looters will be shot on sight. I honestly think that line of that portion of the episode, I can't remember the episode, but that portion of that episode, I think that was honestly better than anything in this episode of Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I think that Dad's Army episode did the martial law stuff much better than this story, and it only did it a little bit. Granted, it was only for Wilmington-on-Sea as opposed to central London, but still. And I don't know, I don't care about the looters plot. I don't care. You could say, oh, it's ride for criminals, but I don't care about actually seeing them on the move. I don't actually care about seeing them doing stuff. I'm okay with them, Doctor and Sarah walking around London, finding it deserted, make a bit of a mystery. It's a bit like Dalek Invasion of Earth. But the thing is, I don't care about the looters, and I don't really want to see the Doctor and Sarah mistaken for being looters. I just want to see them investigating a deserted London, whilst Unit is basically trying to fight these mysterious creatures who we should find out at the end of the story, who are, as opposed to about halfway through. And that's the thing, that it's called Invasion to not spoil who the invaders are, but really it should be the cliffhanger, shouldn't it? It's not halfway through the story with the pterodactyl and the T-Rex popping up. So I honestly think the mystery should have been saved to the last couple of seconds. I mean, it may have meant that we have something a bit duller, a bit less interesting, just the Doctor and Sarah walking around Unit whilst London, whilst Unit are fighting some unseen monsters and locals who are still there, maybe some criminals they bump into. I'll just may explain about it. But honestly, it'd be more interesting than what we got in this episode. I don't care. God. And then the other episodes, they just have too many plots going on. You focus on the dinosaurs. I mean, they do for a little bit, but then it just plays with all the other stuff, and it's just stick to one or two stories. Stop playing with all these different ones. It's a bit of a mess. The story is a bit of a mess. And on top of that, you got some pretty weak effects. I mean, live action stuff isn't too bad, but The stuff with the dinosaurs is pretty weak, apart from maybe some of the bits where they're bigger and the characters can go round or underneath them. But most of the times they look pretty weak. Even for 1974, they look pretty weak. So, yeah. I mean, I will say this, I did have a bit more of an enjoyable time rewatching the story this time round than I did last time. However, whilst that would normally contribute to a raising score of the story, I honestly think whilst watching it, it just didn't. The story had been 6 or 7 beforehand, and whilst watching it, I didn't think it could go any higher than that. And then watching it, no, 6. It's just weak. And then I watched Jack's review, and thinking about it, yeah, this story really doesn't really work. I mean, I love the use of the London Underground being where the base is, or where they're going to. That's a bit like with the Web of Fear. They use it to an advantage in the story, but the London Underground can't save a story from being pretty weak. So overall, I'm going to give Invasion of the Dinosaurs a 5 out of 10. Bit less than twice as much as Jack's score. I think I like it a little bit more than you, Jack, but I don't love it. I've given it the 5 out of 10 score, which means it's actually worse than The Mutant, which I had less enjoyment of. So, yeah, just because it's enjoyable doesn't mean it's good, and just because it's good doesn't mean it does have to be enjoyable all the time. So, there you go. And similarly, it's bad, doesn't it? It's a pain in the arse to watch all the time. It's a pain in the ass to watch, but it's not awful. I mean, it could be bad, though. So, here you go. It was a little bit painful to watch in some places, but it wasn't, not as bad as Colony in Space, another Malcolm Hulke story. So, there you go. And this would be Malcolm Hulke's final on-screen story. I think maybe he did some of the Target novelisations afterwards, but certainly for television story, this is his final one, and honestly, he goes out on a whimper, which sucks, basically. For someone who was pretty close friends with Terrence Dicks, who did the story every season since season 6, his final story goes out on a whimper. And you know what? If this is what he's going to be like, then if this is going to be his last Jon Pertwee story script, then I actually am glad that he didn't come round to do a script for Tom Baker. If this is how he treats Pertwee in his final series, I would not want to see what he does with Tom Baker on his first series, and I'd rather have Bob Baker and Dave Martin back after 3 Doctors doing that Sontaran story that they wrote. I would rather see that, which thankfully we did get that, and thankfully that is better. But rather that than whatever Malcolm Hulke would do for Tom Baker, because if this is how he treats Pertwee in his last season, I would not like to see how he treats Tom Baker in his first. I mean, he did treat Pertwee great in his first season, and he treated Troughton brilliantly with Dix in Troughton's last story. But if Malcolm Hulke doesn't want to play properly with Jon Pertwee on his last season, then do not let him anywhere near Tom Baker. I'm glad they didn't let him anywhere near Tom Baker. Whew, that was a bit of a rant. But quite honestly, I think Season 7 is probably going to be my least favourite season of the classic series up to the end. At least the first 11 seasons, I think this will be my least favourite. So, I think this is we're certainly off to a weak follow-up. I liked The Time Warrior, didn't love it, but I liked it. But this is a pretty weak follow-up, and we've got Death to the Daleks next, then The Monster of Paladin, then Planet of Spies. Death to the Daleks is okay, I wouldn't love it though. Weakest Dalek story, Pertwee's era, probably. I'll see when I rewatch it. Monster of Paladin, former least favourite story, still not very highly regarded, in my opinion, and Planet of Spiders, okay. I mean, it could be worse, but it could be best. It could be a lot better. Better than some Regeneration stories, worse than others. So, yeah, we'll see then. So next time I'll be looking at Death to the Daleks, Jon Pertwee's final Dalek story, and we'll see how that goes on a rewatch, but I honestly don't have that as much fondness for this one as I do for the other 2 Pertwee Dalek stories, not including Frontier in Space. In fact, I'd probably have more fondness for that, first 3 episodes included, than that. But oh well, but they're all better than this. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. And there's a really weird noise outside, I think. But I don't really care about what they do. Fuck, wrong. So overall, I'm going to give the invasion of... Sorry. So next time I'll be looking at Death to the Duck.